Hello Scrolls fans and welcome to Scrollger. My name is Smogan and I apologize I have not had a video up for a little over a week, but I'm here now ready to watch an excellent game between two very strong players, Dialex and Slain M. I missed the first round, but here we are in round 2. Dialex started off with a Vader of the Wild, so he's already up to 3 growth and follows it up with a Sister of the Fox. Slain M playing an energy, looks like a structure build. I believe he has some order in this as well, though. I'm not sure what that splash is for, but I'll be looking forward to seeing it. He starts off with a hired smuggler played towards the top, so a good start for him, as well as a good start for Dialex. Note the fertile soil and rallying, so this is more of a mid-range build than the early aggro enchantment growth build that is so popular right now. And this Rat King will, of course, gum up the works and make it difficult for Slain to get to these important creatures. It'll also make it difficult for him to get a shot off on an idol with the pillage effect of Hired Smuggler. Very nicely played by Dialex. And that's a, wow, Slain only had 2 resources when that Rat King came down, so that's the power of going first and having a first turn Vader of the Wild. This sudden eruption would be key. He decides to sacrifice it. He's probably 5 or 6 turns away from it being useful, so that's not a bad play. Starts off with his first structure of the game. Chose the Forge over the other 3 cost options. Quake for Dialex. He's winning on board right now, so he doesn't need that Quake immediately. He can Fertile Soil, and he does. One of his rats draw some scrolls. Oh, interesting. Crone. You don't see a lot of Crone in game, but we'll see how he's able to take advantage of it. I think he went ahead and just sacrificed it that round. So, interestingly, Dialex chose to keep his rats alive rather than blocking this idol so that Slain can't draw a scroll off the pillage effect. Slain sacrificed the Spark. I would think that he would want to get Spark out to take out this Vader of the Wild, but chooses to lay down a charge coil, not a bad play at all, and then take out this Sister. Of course, if he would have moved the Hired Smuggler down, the rats would have gotten to her and finished her off. Earthborn Mystic number 1 comes down. Earthborn Mystic number 2 likely to come down as well. He has established some power on both the top and the bottom of the board, and if he does get an enchantment out of some sort, then whatever unit he plays it on is going to have double buff. Another 3-drop structure for Slain. The burn is not excellent right now. Of course, it's phenomenal overall, but just right now it's not super good. Maybe if this charge coil hits one of the Earthborn Mystics, then the burn will be an excellent play next turn. For now, needs to decide what to sacrifice. Could pitch the Oculus Cannon or could try to keep it to make it more difficult for his opponent to move about the board. But having a second Forge out would be a pretty powerful play as well. Interesting decision here. Definitely has 3 strong scrolls in hands. Does decide to get rid of the Forge, and here's a Purification. That's our Order Splash. I wonder what that Purification is in here to be against. That's interesting. Or maybe he has more scrolls as well. So he still only has 4 resources, can't play the Elder, so the Forge comes down, defending the Hired Smuggler. Note there's only 1 space that this Forge can spawn Gun Automaton, so he'll have to make sure to keep that clear next turn. Dialex still has Quake available. He could play a Rallying right now, and then draw some scrolls off of the Earthborn Mystics. If he chose to, it would take out a Forge, is about all that would do. He could go up to 7 resources, and Rallying, use this Earthborn Mystic to grab if it's a Stagheart in his deck, and then Stagheart to take out this Forge as well. That's a pretty strong play. Let's see if that's what he's trying to do here. There's the Rallying, there's the draw card. It's unfortunate, Unleash Inner Power. I wonder if he has other enchantments in the deck as well that he was trying to draw. Power Trip for Slain. That's an interesting scroll that doesn't see a lot of love right now. And there's the burn to go ahead and take out the first Earthborn Mystic. And then a second Power Trip in hand. That's unfortunate. But what is fortunate is being able to take out so many units with both the Hired Smuggler and the Charge Coil. So how's Dialex going to respond? He almost had an extremely good play last turn, but unfortunately drew the Unleash Inner Power instead of a 2-drop power increasing enchantment. Pitches the Unleash Inner Power, has a Crone and a Rallying. Lots of unusual scrolls being played in this matchup. I'm excited to see that. Plays a Striped Fangbear in backed. Thunder Surge, perfect opportunity right now should Slain decide to do it. It would only kill 1 unit, but it would dramatically weaken these 2 and make them much easier to kill. Here comes a Power Trip. That brings him up to 8 resources. Note that Power Trip still doesn't draw a scroll on the live server, no matter what resources you are at when you use it. What's he going to do with those 8 resources? He power trips again, that goes up to 11. So here's the Thunder Surge, and he can still play an Ether Pump if he chooses to. Moves the Smuggler behind the Forge, and Ether Pump comes down. So he threw a lot of cards at that play. I'm not sure if it was worth it to be able to play the Pump and the Thunder Surge at the same time, but it certainly was an effective play. These creatures are both very weak and are at risk to die to, well, basically anything that an energy deck can do. Dialex himself is up to 7 energy. I wonder if he has God Hand in this deck. I don't actually know. Right now, he doesn't have a strong creature to play. He just has this Outcast Rebel, but he goes ahead and uses the Rallying to take out several of his opponent's unit with that Relentless Bear. Well done by Dialex, taking advantage of a turn that he did not have any big creatures to play with his high resource count. Slain for now, just 2 strong but inexpensive scrolls to play. He gets rid of the Smuggler. Its time of easy idle attacks is basically over. Plays out Ether Pump number 2 down on the bottom, so he has a pump on top and a pump on bottom, and then Potion of Resistance. Note that the Rallying is what counted down this Outcast Rebel so quickly, so it's already ready to attack. And then this answers my question. He does have God Hand in his deck. Fertile Soil, he could go ahead and play that on his 1 health bear, and he does generate some good card advantage there. Moves, plays out a Ragged Wolf to deal 1 damage to the Potioned Ether Pump. Another Rebel comes down and chooses to deal damage to Idol rather than 1 damage to the Potioned Pump. Note that these idols are starting to take a beating. Of course, the Slane's deck is a control build, so he's trying to extend the game as long as possible until he can win on his own terms. Meanwhile, Dialex, as the mid-range build, needs to play the beatdown here and focus on ending the game before Slane can gain control. Right now, based on probably the strength of the Fertile Soils, Dialex has been able to generate really strong card advantage. Note that he's farther through his deck than than Slane is, and Slane's going to have to do some work to catch up on the scroll advantage. Of course, these Ether Pumps are a great way to do that if they can continue to generate, along with these Charge Coil, advantage over multiple turns. Even without card draw, energy can gain great card advantage in that manner. So up to 8 resources here. He sacrificed for resources. It gives him the God Hand play. That takes out 1 pump. It deals serious damage to 2 of the idols. So in lieu of playing out some creatures, Dialex going for the throat a little bit, putting Slane on notice and making sure he has to pay attention to his idols. Ether Pump is going to get an attack off. Charge Coil going to get an attack off. What is he going to do with these cards in hand? He sacrifices the cannon, gets another cannon and a Sudden Eruption. He could, Sudden Eruption doesn't do enough yet. Machine Chant will help him transition into that, and the Chant plus the Pump was able to take out multiple units, and Dialex left with just 1 creature with 1 health on the board. Frostgale is in hand, but Frostgale Quake will be good later, maybe even soon, so it's hard to say that he would want to sacrifice those, because that could take out a lot of structures a few turns from now. But he needs to sacrifice something. The Veteran is really hard to get rid of. But he does go ahead and get rid of the Frostgale, decides to go up to 9 resources. That allows him to play Veteran and the Fangbear. So the Fangbear comes down defensively, and the Veteran perhaps going to deal 3 damage to this. Oh, the Divinator has Potion of Resistance on it too. I didn't even notice that. I didn't see that come down. Instead, just using the Veteran to deal 3 damage to this idol. Interesting choice, and potentially a good one to not take out this middle idol, instead sort of taking down idols evenly. There is no set knowledge on exactly what the best play is in this situation. Do you want to just take out the idol when you can against the structure decks, or do you want to soften multiple idols to increase options later? Both choices are viable. We'll see how that decision affects his play. If Slane is able to solidify this middle row, Dialex may regret that Kinfolk Veteran being played on the bottom. Slane, meanwhile, goes up to 7 resources, so that means Sudden Eruption will deal 2 damage to everything that Dialex has. Charge Coil reduces both to 1 health, or, well, just the bear to 1 health, so both end up having 1 health. And the Frostgale Quake play is still available. Perhaps Sister of the Fox will come down first, hoping to find, yes, a creature. That's what he wanted. Something that can just deal some damage to these units. Perhaps he'll play the Veteran up here to hit the Ether Pump, or maybe he'll just continue to soften idols and plan to Frostgale Quake away these structures should they reach critical mass. Interesting, he chooses just to save his Kinfolk Veteran in hand. He does have 9 resources, so he can play multiple things next turn rather than playing them all right now. Slain pitches his second Divinator. That is good defense against the Quakes, but he decides, of course, to rather have the Clock Library out instead. Ether Pump wipes Dialex's board. Are we going to see the Quake Veteran play? Here's the Quake. And where would the Veteran come down? The Frostgale would be amazing if this Divinator was dead, but it's not. So the Veteran comes down and takes out the Clock Library. Dialex desperately trying to keep his opponent from massing up on the board. Slain hasn't been getting the best draws. Double Solemn Giant right now isn't particularly helpful. He can play it out, though. It's decent. And he can, of course, activate it to attack next turn as a Violent Dispersal on a stick. Charge Coil taking out the Veteran. Stitch the Fox comes down, draws a Brother the Wolf, which is immediately sacrificed. Double Wolf in hand. Great and Ragged versions. Let's see, what would I do here? Maybe Ragged up to deal 1 damage. Oh, he went ahead and Frostgaled, so that takes out the Charge Coil. And then Ragged Wolf to take out the Ether Pump, and a Great Wolf played behind and in the back. Or I'm sorry, on top and in the back. Second Solemn Giant will likely be sacrificed here in lieu of the Ether Pump. Note that a gun auto will be spawned. The Quake Frostgale over the last 2 turns is what was key in taking out these structures, but Dialex doesn't have anything in hand right now. What you see is what you get for him. He's totally in top deck mode, and that's a dangerous place to be, especially now that Slain has some options in hand of his own. Ticks down his Giant once, plays out an Ether Pump, gun auto spawns to the bottom. Unfortunate placement because that's going to take several turns to move to where he's going to be relevant, but not a huge deal. Oh, there's the second Quake. That's decent timing on that. Dialex may wait to play it in a future turn when more structures are out, because this is only going to kill 2 units. It would dramatically weaken the Solemn Giant, but Dialex goes ahead and plays out the Great Wolf instead, so now he's got an attacking Relentless Great Wolf next turn, following, if he does, if everything is still alive, of course, he could go Quake into that attack and take out pretty much everything that's in this middle row, I believe. Machine Chant and Burn in hand for Slain. Second Machine Chant might be the candidate to be sacrificed here, though Burn is not useful against these current creatures. Just hard to let go. It's such a good scroll. Machine Chant's only dealing 2 damage right now. Deciding to go ahead and burn to take out the Ragged Wolf. He could sacrifice for resources and pump up this Solemn Giant to take out 1 Great Wolf, and that looks like what he's deciding to do. So that's not a bad play. Of course, he's making himself vulnerable to this second attacking Great Wolf, but I don't know that he had any other options. Intelligent movement, though, moving the Divinator away from where this Great Wolf can get access to, fearing the Relentless or some sort of shenanigans that gets rid of this Ether Pump, perhaps a Rumble. Crone sacrificed again. Brother of the Wolf comes out to defend this Great Wolf, who will be taking out the Solemn Giant. Vader of the Wild may just keep it in hand to sacrifice next turn. It's not going to do anything, especially with this Ether Pump going ahead and attacking. Definitely a good decision not to play out the Vader. His time has passed for now. Into round 16. This is still an excellent game. Both players executing their game plans. Dialex has done good idle damage. Slain is trying to hold on to the board, not able to completely hold on, but does have a pretty decent stronghold down here with an attacking Ether Pump and now a Charge Coil in back. Machine Chant dealing 3 damage to this wolf. It's still not dead, still not going to die even after the Ether Pump attack, but importantly, the Machine Chanting throughout the game has increased Slain's resource count up to 9, and note that he has drawn pretty close to even with Dialex on scrolls. Dialex only a few scrolls ahead. God Hand is an interesting opportunity here. That would really only take out this middle row, which is good, but perhaps not enough to use the God Hand on. If he could Rat King instead, he could God Hand next turn and do some serious work. Unfortunately, he's already sacrificed for scrolls. He would love to be able to play out the Rat King in addition to another strong unit, and then setting up for a God Hand next turn. Instead, deciding to go ahead and just God Hand now, takes out the Ether Pump, takes out the Divinator, takes out the middle idol. A lot of damage done, still some good value from that God Hand. Slain with the second Charge Coil, a Hellsplitter Mortar, and a Clock Library. He could play out 2 of the 3 with what he has right now and pick some idols to defend really strongly. pitches the Hellspitter, pulls some removal and a strong unit. And then we see the library and the charge coil coming down, defending this 2 health idol, and lucky strike from the charge coil taking out the Great Wolf. Unfortunate for Dialex, but it was 50-50, so not terribly unlikely. Rallying for Dialex, maybe not what he needs right now. Probably should hold on to that Quake in case things get out of hand. Perhaps he should pitch the Rallying, hope for another strong creature to pair with his Rat King, but no, he goes ahead and Quakes. And actually, that was a pretty strong play. I underestimated the amount of damage that was going to do. Took out most of what Slain has and leaves him with just some low health units that can be taken out by God Hand next turn. Note that Dialex is also splitting his units as best he can around Thunder Surge, but makes an important error, I believe. I think he should have moved this Brother of the Wolf and this Rat up to this row so that the double gun auto couldn't take out the Brother of the Wolf. I think that's an important mistake. Maybe he had already moved and I didn't see that wasn't possible, but that's something that I would have tried to do. Slain is able to repopulate with his 9 resources following the Quake. Dialex left with just a pair of rats, not enough to make an effective God Hand right now. But you know what? Here's another Quake. Here's a Frostgale. He could even play both this turn, though they're not necessary to play both. Quake takes down everything of Slain's besides just a Gravelock Elder. Note, of course, that the next Quake is going to cost 11 resources due to the taxing mechanic, but Dialex can still play it. And we see another purification. It looks like Slain's Order Splash is just 2 purifications from what we've seen. Really unfortunate for Dialex. He pulls just utility spells and removal. No creatures to play with that double fertile soil. Has to just pass the turn doing nothing. That is not at all what he wants. We'll see if he can recover from that unfortunate draw. Potion of Resistance played to defend this Gravelock Elder, but Slain cannot punish Dialex. Just a ton of removal in his hand, so he cannot make him pay for missing a turn. We could see something interesting here. We could see Rat King double fertile soil from Dialex if he chooses to sacrifice for resources. Instead, chooses to Frostgale into Rat King, the Frostgale just dealing 1 damage to this Gravelock Elder. And then Fertile Soil played on one of the rats, drawing him some scrolls. Sacrifices up to 2 resources. Sister of the Fox comes down, drawing yet another scroll. Now he's able to do some serious work next turn. Note that he can Rat King God Hand next turn off of 12 resources, should he choose, and should Slain present the opportunity. That could potentially be game ending, depending on what Slain has in hand and what he's able to get on the board. We see no structures for Slain. That is absolutely critical. No mass removal either. He does have a power trip. He can go up to 12 resources off of that. We'll see if he anticipates the potential game-ending play by Dialex. And to prevent that, he just needs to defend these idols and play some removal, and that's what he does. So I don't think that Dialex will be able to end the game off of what I see here, unless there's something I'm missing. But he can still do some tremendous work with a Rat King God Hand play. So here comes the Rat King, populating the bottom of the board. Let's see what he does to move here. Positions to take out everything but the Divinator currently. Pitches for scrolls. Now deciding if he wants to God Hand now or play out the Great Wolf into the Mystic for a God Hand next turn. He's just got to be worried that his opponent could have a sudden eruption that would take out most of what he has. But actually, this is clever. He plays the Earthborn Mystic and then just rallies. So saves the God Hand, but still gets a strong countdown play. Takes out several units and deals a little bit of idle damage. That's pretty darn important. And here's the sudden eruption. That's what I was concerned about for Dialex. Slain pulls it at the right time. Let's see. So currently it could deal 2 damage to 5 units, which would basically devastate Dialex's board. He could go up to 10 resources and deal 2 damage to everything, ensuring that all of these creatures die, but instead sacrifices for scrolls. He could still power trip to do a nice sudden eruption play. And let's see, so there's the power trip up to 12. Sudden eruption currently would damage everything and then some. So he has a couple extra resources he could spend. He could Potion of Resistance before sudden eruption. There's an Oculus Cannon. And here's the sudden eruption. So that hits everything except for the Sister of the Fox, choosing to play the Oculus Cannon rather than guaranteeing the 1 extra kill, which is fine. I don't necessarily disagree with that play. Crone for Dialex, not particularly helpful. Not a lot is going to be killing it in melee combat in Slane's deck, so it's pitched immediately. And here's the Great Wolf God Hand, and that is actually game ending. Well done by Dialex, positioning to find the hole. Note that he did that off 13 resources. He was able to play Great Wolf and God Hand on the same turn, something that Slane did not seem to expect and could not quite play around. Wow, excellent game. Dialex choosing to deal idle damage early and often seems to pay off, as he was able to find a hole in Slane's defenses even after Slane was able to wipe most of Dialex's board. Well done to both players. This has been Smogan with Scrollscast. You can catch more Scrollscast videos on the Badger Guild YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment to show us that you love us. Thank you for watching.